All right, we're seeing your screen starting to come up.
Okay.
All right,
There you go.
and you're up and running.
All right.
CHA 250B antenna. The base is
I'm going to mute
12
you.
feet off the ground, and the tip is, I don't know, 16 feet higher. It covers all HF bands from 80 through 6. There are no radios. The SWR is 1.2 or better. That's my lead-in cable. It runs down the side of the house. That my wife is so nice to let me live in with her. And it comes on down, and I drilled a hole in the wall into my office to my shack, and it feeds in through that hole there, plugged up with the cord from a wine bottle. This is my station. I have a K3. I bought it as a stripped version, no antenna tuner, no amplifier. I screwed it together with 350 parts that are mostly screws. Above it on the left is a KXPA 100 watt amplifier, and above that is the power supply. It's an Elenco 30 amp power supply. This is the rest of my shack. I have a lot of tools. I build a lot of circuits from scratch for fun. I've got parts stored up there. And my scope. And over here is an antenna that we built at Pacificon last year. And I'm going to try it out maybe on field day. So here is my setup. I have a KX2 that works with the 100 watt amplifier. In the upper right, I have the North California that I built from a kit, and below that is a 50 watt Hard Rock 50 amplifier that I also built from a kit. I used it until about January when I bought the KXPA 100 that works so nicely with.
That's it, guys.
All right, well, I'm kind of interested in your antenna you built at Pacificon. Can you describe what it was?
It was designed by Doug Hendricks, and he handed out the parts, and we put them together there. There's a vertical. It's actually a buddy pole whip, and then there's a coil. It's pretty simple. The stand that it's plugged into, I bought at Home Depot for $12 or something, used for painting operations. So, anyway, that's about it.
So when I worked you on field day, were you using the KX2?
Yeah, the KX2 in the backyard. I put a 20-meter dipole up in an oak tree by tying a rope to a rock and throwing it over a branch about 30 feet up or 25 feet up. So, yeah, using the battery, the KX2. So it was less than 10 watts, I think, at that point on 20 meters.
Well, I heard you fine. Any questions for Bob?
Okay, I have another video, but let's move on to somebody else. Yeah.
You want to push it and go for two?
No.
All right. Then go ahead and unshare.
Okay, stop share.
Right. All right, you're back to the gang. Thank you,
Good.
sir. The next on the list I had was Hank K6HUH. And you'll be doing your shack and see how this goes. So Hank, I have kind of a chipmunk audio for you. Does anybody else hear it correctly?
Yeah.
Same thing.
But there's chipmunk.
Yeah.
I think it's a bandwidth thing. I run into that too on occasion.
Carol thinks it sounds like chipmunks too. That's funny.
That's a new one.
And Jojo is a technical guy, so he's saying he sounds like he's on USB. Upper sideband.
Maybe send them a message.
So they're working on the technical difficulties.
Can you hear us, Hank?
Yeah, he keeps on.
Well, I do know that he was moving the camera over from Gert's setup to his, so it could have been that in the process of moving it around, it caused some untoward problems along the way. And so they've dropped, it appears to me, or at least the screen has. They're working on it. And they were actually wearing the River City ARCS t-shirts. I'm wearing the green version of Field Day. You kind of pre-ordered. Sylvia's wearing her badge. She's showing off too. I didn't put mine on. Sorry, Sylvia. She did mention where are they, and I told her where they were, and I didn't get it myself. Anybody else wearing a badge? Thinking ahead. I can see Carol's QSL cards in the background. There's quite a few. Is that a real image or is that something you're superimposing?
It's a virtual background.
Okay. I like it.
Why don't we move on?
Okay, we can, oh, there, we have an image anyway. So he is sharing and we have a screen. Let's see if the audio works for him now. Go ahead, Hank. Well, I can add audio. It looks like they're on a motorcycle driving somewhere. It says what's happening here on Route 2, Canada border.
Hank, I posted a link to an article in the chat window. I'm not quite sure if that's the same issue what you're seeing. You could take a look, see if that helps.
Oh, you've seen a particular issue when you go chipmunk and how to fix it?
If you Google webcam chipmunk.
I think it's remove helium and then you start sounding more normal.
Maybe, yeah, did you have the audio is working okay on your computer, right? Maybe you can do the audio on your computer on Zoom?
Half C's.
Yeah.
Or Kevin, you can do the voiceovers.
Sure. Okay.
All right, what does that say, Kevin?
Here it is. I'm not quite sure what we're looking at. There's a couple of radios on the left. Yeah. Point to them and I'll commentate. There's a whole stack of wires hanging up on the right-hand side, which is pretty interesting. I got something like that in my wardrobe. And on the shelf, it looks like there's an amp maybe on the shelf, maybe a rotator or something, and a bunch of handy talkies. And then under that, looks like there's maybe an oscilloscope and a couple of other radios. Yeah, okay. Go to the next slide. All right, and a closet full of goodies. Some circuit board holders and coax and other cables and all right, yeah, lots of boxes of electronic components, capacitors, transistors, ICs, and other goodies all stashed away. Yeah, nice and tidy and very orderly. What we got here? This is a Heath HR1680 receiver that Gert got when they were in Ohio, 77, 78. This is Gert's first electronic kit. Right. Yeah, I wish Heathkit was still in business. Does it still work? Gert? You can nod and we'll see you in the window. Yeah, it still works. Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Then what we got here? Below the antenna switch box is a ground strip connected to outdoor 8-foot ground rod.
Keeps going back to the windows.
Oh, there you go. I think we heard you.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay.
Okay.
It's,
I'll hand over to you.
it's Windows 10 trying to take over. That's the problem.
Are we back?
Yeah, you're good. We can hear you. Yeah.
All right. All right.
So
Okay. There's no video, but they can hear us. There's a switch box on the wall there that we bought from MFJ. And then Gert and I made a label for it because you couldn't, A, B, C, D didn't make any sense to me. So I put the actual names of the antennas and the rigs on the switches to make it easier to read. On the floor on the right, up against the cabinet, you can't see it very well, but that is the control modules for my Elecraft SWR watt meter. When we built this bench, kind of missed everything in the beginning, but when we built the bench, there's an aluminum strip that runs across the whole under edge of it that's also grounded to the ground bar that's below that switch box, which goes to a ground rod outside the house. And that's what that's all about. I'm sorry I can't make this work the way it should, but we'll do it this way. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, you're good. Yep.
All right, video. My monitor is 24-inch mounted on the wall because I'm half blind. I can't see, can't hear. So this is on a wall mount that moves left and right as well as up and down and in and out. So it makes it easier for me to see. The PC I use, Kevin, this is especially should be interesting to you, is a UDO x86 single board computer with 128 gig of storage. And it runs Windows 10 as well as Linux. There's also a desktop PC, and there's 2 speakers on the desk because PCs basically have terrible speakers. In this picture, you can see that slotted strip on the rear of the bench top. All my power cords, audio, Ethernet, and other cables come up through there, which precludes having to drill holes in that Formica top. Worked out pretty good. All my reference materials and manuals on shelves above the bench. Some of my test equipment is displayed on the shelf there. And I can either use it up there, there's power strips behind it, or I can lift it down onto the bench. And the handy talkies are kept in charge stations to the right. And also there's my soon to be replaced broken antenna rotator readout. And further off to the right side of the bench, I've got an isolated variable AC power supply to keep from blowing up expensive test gear like oscilloscopes. There's an transformer that drives an isolation transformer, so there's no common ground to anything in the test equipment itself or the equipment under test. And we have several soldering iron stations as shown here, and including a subminiature iron that's used for small circuit boards and SMD devices. Red drawers are for the BNC connectors, PL259s, SO239s, and small hardware. Hand tools are in the self-closing drawers on the bottom. And there's a floor-mounted LED magnifying lamp, which comes in handy, especially when looking at parts values on small components, and little tiny capacitors. I built another one of those plastic strips that I hung on the wall that I keep all my test probes and test leads and coax jumpers and so on up there on the wall. That was the last slide, but I want to back up here a minute because I want to point something out. If I can find
Where is it?
that's probably the doors, the cabinet doors. We had pieces of one of those closet organizers, and I looked at them and figured out that if I cut them exactly in half, they made perfect cabinet doors. So I've got 3 of them there that you can see. And then for the the drawer fronts on the front over here, we just went out and bought those at Lowe's or
Whatever. Anyway.
I can't remember what it was.
And there is a battery under the bench.
Yeah, there's a battery under the bench. And the black box that's on that second shelf there is the solar controller. I had one of those Harbor Freight solar controllers. And there's solar panels on the roof. So, and the battery under the bench. So all of my 12-volt equipment runs off of that. The HF rigs run off of 110, although they're both capable of 13-volt inputs, but I don't have the battery power to use it. Down in the, the drawers here on the bottom, there's a 600-watt linear down there, and my backup for all of my computers in the house. There's 2 disk drives here, a RAID array.
Okay.
And there's also a
Watt meter?
now also a an Astron 35 MP power supply. It does have the meters on it. I bought that a long time ago, but can't really use it now because I'm using all battery power. I have 2 Heil headsets that that I use because I don't hear very well. Okay, so anyway, that's about it. Most of our station, our ham shack is mostly set up for working on electronics.
Yeah.
As you can see there from that.
And you can mention you have a vertical and a beam and a 2-meter antenna on the roof.
Yeah. My beam up on the roof, of which I've been getting really good reports from lately, is an EXP14. And it's set up for 10, 20, and 40 meters. And then I also have the 5BTV vertical out in the backyard. There was a couple of wire dipoles up on the roof, but those got taken down when we had the roof replaced last year, and I haven't put them back up yet.
And you still have a 6-meter on top of the beam, up above the beam, and you've got a 2-meter on the end of the roof, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's all I got for my presentation. I'll get out of this. So you can go on to the next one. Don't save. I guess you have to say don't save.
All right, you're back to us as a gang.
Are we back on the air now?
Yep, I see everybody back again. Welcome back, everybody. Do you lose your electronic parts in the carpet? The rug?
I'm
No.
sorry. What was the question again?
The rug, I would think if you dropped a part, you would probably never find it. Is that getting lost when you drop those small parts?
No, I can still get down and find them because I see the close-up stuff.
Okay. I would need that magnifying glass to find them here. And we have carpet too, so I lose stuff in the carpet too, as well. I just wondered.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that I did want to say though is the radios that I have an FT2D handy.
We lost you, Hank. Well, let's move on. I had on the list I had Bob Woodward, N6 PGQ. Bob, are you in one of these windows? I see you on the right now. Are
I'm
you
here. So we ready to go?
Give it a try. Your audio sounds fine, by the way.
Oh, good.
You're no chipmunk.
No.
Okay, so hopefully this is working. So,
Yes.
uh-oh, hang on. Wait a sec. There it goes. Supposedly this works. Ah, there it is. Okay, outside of my shack is the solar panels I used for field day. And fortunately, we weren't at our ARCS field day site because the batteries that I have that I would have brought there died after about a half an hour. And fortunately, since I was home, I was able to swap them out and continuing operating 1E. So these are my present shack computers. In the back, where it belongs, is my Windows PC. It's used for programming radios and running software that's not written for Macintosh computers. Front of it's my Mac laptop that I'm using right now. And to the right is an old iMac computer that I use for spotting in QRZ.
Oh my.
Okay, so now we're going to be looking from the right to the left. At the far right is my bencher paddle and Navy flameproof straight key. Next to the keyer is a Yaesu 857 all mode transceiver that I use mostly for 2-meter FM and single sideband. And I also use it for the ARCS 10-meter net on my vertical antenna. Above the 847 are remote radio and antenna switches. The left of the Yaesu on the bottom shelf is an Elecraft K3, which is my main HF radio. And above the K3 are two 220 megahertz FM radios. Bottom, going across, next to the K3 is an Elecraft P3 pan adapter. And way on the top shelf is a monitor that expands the P3 screen. Above the P3 is a borrowed Kenwood TR751, which is an all-mode 2-meter transceiver that I've only used a few times and probably should give it back. To its left is an old Yaesu FT100 all-mode mobile transceiver. It's mostly used as a backup radio in case anything else poops out. Far left on the bottom shelf is a Elecraft KAT 500 antenna tuner and a KPA 500 HF amplifier. At the extreme left are the rotor controllers, a green heron for the step IR antenna, and a high gain for the VHF and UHF antennas. Step IR controller box is above the green heron controller. So here comes a video. Okay, well, more stuff. Video production and drone footage was done by Neil, KL7HQR, and I really want to thank him for doing that. The violin concerto was composed by Mozart, and that's the video. So here's me in my shack. This is taken during field day. You can see in my almost always messy shack that our family won't let any horizontal surface remain unutilized or unfilled. And if you can find them on the right side table are all the myriad battery chargers for the handheld radios I have. There's a space there for my KX3 if I want to operate with it. And sitting back in the back that I don't think you can see is a KPA 100 power amplifier for that. And to the left of the on-air sign is a radio pile with an FT101 on the bottom. And then the next one up is my first real HF radio. It was a Kenwood TS520. On top of that, it's my father-in-law's Swan 350 and a 10-tech power mite. And so that's my shack. How do we do this thing?
Before you go away, are there any questions, or you want to look a little closer at some of the things that he did present?
Bob, didn't you order K4?
Not yet. See, okay, well, here's the problem. I planned on saving all my my paying quartet job checks, but we haven't had a job since March. So I think my K4 is kind of going away. And just a quick comment to Tom, I have a field day shirt and a 2020 field day pin. So you don't have to give one to me. You can keep one for yourself.
Well, I have one as well. So we now have an extra shirt that needs, well, I was giving you a hat. So if you don't have
a hat, I like.
You were getting a hat anyway. So you're getting it. So you'll get
Okay, well, I thought you were giving away pins.
We are giving away pins. We can hold back the pin and maybe Sylvia can keep hers.
That sounds good. Okay, right. So let's see. Stop share, if I can make it work. Oh, wait a minute. Where's the, there it is. Stop share. There you go.
All right, we're all back. This is us again. Thank you, Bob. And Neil wanted to follow you. I'm not sure what he has planned. So Neil, KL7HQR, you're next following Bob. You must have something related. So go ahead, sir.
No, not really. I wanted to see how the video ran for him before I ran mine.
I can tell you, I've turned my volume up. I'm sure everybody might have done the same to hear better.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see if I can share this here.
When you share it, there's a little button on the bottom that says share computer audio. If you do that, we'll get the full loud audio from your computer.
Okay, let's go see if I can do that. Trying to remember. I need to share here is the, let's try this here. Let's see if it is the correct one.
Yeah, down at the bottom left, good.
Yeah, there is the video, audio, and optimized for video, okay.
Okay.
Anyway, I have been around ham radio for quite a while. And so I found a copy of the QSL cards that I have used. PY2CA, I was in Brazil, and in Brazil at that time, you could not get a ham license unless you were 18 or older. So that was 1960s. My father got his license, and under his supervision, I operated as PY2CA. And coming here in 1970s, got my first license as WB6ZQY in Alaska. Found some old pictures of my station up in Elmendorf, Alaska. 1973 to 1976. I have no idea what that guide is that's there. But you can see 19-inch Rex and old TR3s and old robot slow scan television. When put together, it had an SP220 and several heat kits items. And you can see there the black and white TV oscilloscope. On the other side, we had, of course, phone patches and etc. Recording on a cassette recorder, the old teletype. And this yellow box was my 2-meter crystal controlled equipment. And here is what the station looked like when finished. Outside, any question?
Very nice.
Thank you. Outside, a 60-foot tower and with a gem quad, 10, 15, 20 gem quad up on top. And that's what we operated. Now we jump 43 years in the future, or 47 years in the future, and here's where we are today. We have put this together within the last 2 years. On the left-hand side, we have my laptop, and we're running Ham Radio Deluxe. So we have a IC 7300 in here. With on the laptop, we have the radio control, which I hardly use. I use this mostly for the QRZ.com to check the contact. We use the gray line and rotor bearing display. My rotor is not connected to it, but I use that to get the bearings to the station. On the right-hand side, we have on top the logbook from HRD, and in the bottom is the DX clusters to see what's coming in. In here we have a MFJ antenna tuner, which I used to use for my long wire. Now I use when I use that wire for 80 meters. Of course, on the table here, at my age, I need the reminder of what the band frequencies are that I am authorized to use. We have an azimuth map with my latitude and longitude, and of course the WS map. On the right, on top here is the controller for the stepper antenna, and we'll see that a little bit more. Power supply for the radio and the 2-meter IC 2730, which we use for the net. On the right hand side here, I have a false ground to tune because we're on the first floor, and I thought that the ground would not be proper, but I don't need it, and we're going to dispose of it. So that's here today. Going out, we have an FHJ panel at the window, so that all the cables go out and without any holes on the window or any structure problem. On the outside, the shack is up here, so we put a cable raceway so that all the cables run through here. The wife was very happy with that, and it runs all the way to the back and down and into a junction box. And at that junction box, we have the cables coming in from the shack and going out to the towers with lightning arresters, including the same for each of the control cables for the rotor and for the step IR. Now let's see if this works. This is where we're having problems before. So let's see if we can do this time without any problems. And here, I heard questions some time ago about my antenna. So we decided to do this.
That image may be on another screen. We're seeing a black bar.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We have to share that separately.
Okay, hang on a minute. Let me see. I tried that before and it worked. Of course, never when you need it. So what I probably need to do is to come back here, is to, okay, where are we? Not that one. Can anybody see my screen?
Just black.
I'm seeing a black image. We're probably what you're looking at, but we're not seeing the image.
Okay, so let me unshare. Okay, and now let me try sharing it again. Okay. Okay, sorry guys. Let me try sharing it one more time. Where is the thing? Let's try this. Okay.
Black again.
That's a black screen. Can you see the things on top?
We can
Yeah.
see your cursor.
Yeah, start
Okay,
playing.
then we should have it correct now. Let's see.
I see.
Yes,
Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good.
that's good.
You guys see and hear okay?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, you don't want to catch me.
Often when you find it.
Okay. Be happy. Perfect. So that was the video. I don't know how well it came across.
Beautifully.
Pretty
Okay.
well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
One more thing that I just wanted to share here, and I may have to do that. Let me see if I can bring that over here.
You may have to reshare the screen you like. Oh, there, that's,
Can you see anything?
that's fine. That's working.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, here's the answer to the how well we did. We have about 95 countries contacted from here, about 35 confirmed, and so gradually that antenna is really doing a good job. And this is the overall review of the shack, of the room. Here on the left side, you see the ham radio equipment. On the right-hand side, you see my other hobby, which is the flight simulator. And I would like to issue an invitation when we can go visit each other, for anybody to come in and give it a try and see if you can fly little airplanes, big airplanes, or anything, and enjoy a different hobby with me. So that's basically what I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
One thing we did for our base cement was we had my three-year-old grandniece has a handprint in ours. You didn't push anything into your cement.
That's why I put the little flag, you know, on the tower itself.
So the born on date. Yeah, I like that. That was nice.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
All right. Any questions for Neil?
Thanks everybody for the help on getting done. Thank you.
All right. Well, in my list, I have Phil next. That's KD6RM. I know you've done this before, so take it away, Phil.
All right, let's see if we can get things going. We'll go to share screen. And we want PowerPoint. Share computer sound. Do the share. And start the slideshow. Guess here's right? Slideshow from the beginning. Okay, this is not a very elaborate looking ham shack. I have a Elecraft, if I can get the cursor to go. This is a K3S, little power supply. This is a remote antenna switch for my N6BT vertical dipole. And then this is a remote antenna switch up here on the right, so that I can select between 5 different remote coaxes. And of course, there's a bug. Off to the left, you can't see it, is my computer monitor. And I'm using an SDR Play as my pan adapter. And I'm running Win4K Suite. And you know, for $100 bill, you've got a $700 or $800 P3 pan adapter. And it works quite well. I'm very impressed with it. On the other side of the room, you can see where I spend most of my time. on my workbench, I've got a power supply and a 100 megahertz 4-channel scope, and then a spectrum analyzer, and then a whole bunch of plug-in stuff, and a bunch of network analyzers and voltmeters. And this is a function generator, and another function generator, and a transistor curve tracer, a couple of fancy signal generators, and all my hand tools. And then, of course, the requisite soldering iron and good eyeballs. So you can tell that I spend a lot of time horsing around with stuff. This is that outdoor remote antenna switch I was talking about. 5 different coaxes are fed off of one that goes into the shack. There are, as I said, 5 antennas. One of them is a horizontal fence-mounted ZEP antenna fed with a quarter-wave piece of transmission line, and that's the tail end of it, where the tap is. This is the end. This is RG6, and it's a matching section, a matching stub that feeds this horizontal wire. There is no ground reference. It's an interesting configuration. This is where I feed that wire. It's nothing more than this coax, and one end goes to the wire. No counterpoise, and that ought to drive just about half of you crazy trying to figure out how that works. This is one of 2 elements of my phased 40-meter vertical pair. Those elements are about 20 feet, and they're mounted to fence posts. It's pretty small stuff. I think this is like 7/8 aluminum, and it tapers down to 1/2 inch with a top hat up here. Both of them are identical. Each of these elements has a little matching section. This is a loading coil to make up for the shortened radiator, and this is the hairpin match. And you can see where my gull wing radials are. Again, this is all I have for ground plane. They're elevated about 6 foot above the ground, and they're resonant. You resonate these just as you would a dipole. Works remarkably well. This is the other antenna I have. This is W6BT design. It's called the Bravo series. That antenna switches between loading coils in this little box. So this covers 10, 12, 15, 17, and 20 meters. That is it. There's not much here. You can tell I'm not much of an operator, but it seems to be effective. Are there any questions?
Well, several people use a BT antenna. What's Tom's last name? It doesn't.
Shelley.
Okay. If you go to PacificCon, the antenna seminar, you'll get to know him pretty well. He is Mr. Vertical.
He is Mr. Remarkable. Brilliant guy.
Bill, did the antenna tuner come with the antenna?
It's not a tuner. It's just there's matching
Oh,
coils.
the matching coils come with
It
it?
does come with it,
Yeah.
yes. Pretty simple.
Yeah, the interesting thing on that vertical is you only need 2 radials, which I wouldn't have believed, but apparently works.
He claims between 95 and 99% efficiency with that design. And I believe him. He's a pretty reputable kind of guy.
Okay.
Do you have a website that I can see the antenna? Because I'm not familiar with that antenna.
Just type in N6BT.
Okay.
And it'll take you to Tom's website. He's famous for all kinds of beam designs, and he's the noted authority on various approaches to vertical antennas as well. Really a nice guy.
He created Force 12 when he owned it.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. Oh, I remember. I know who you say. Yeah, okay. But I am not familiar with that particular 40-meter antenna that you have, because it's quite interesting. Yeah, I like it. Do you have a lot of noise?
No, that one's not too bad. The phase verticals, what's kind of interesting about those is, you know, if you listen to one element, it's fairly noisy. But when you put the two of them together with a phasing network, it drops the noise level by about almost 4 decibels. So when you phase them, it helps a lot.
How far they are? I mean,
Quarter wave spacing between the elements.
quarter wave. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's something that they have to look into that.
Everything I've got is homemade, that antenna switching. Everything except the K3 is some kind of homemade arrangement. So
Yeah, no,
it's always interesting around there.
quite interesting for the 40. Yeah, that's something that I have to look, because I have a Delta loop right now and for on 40, but I'm missing a couple. I mean, basically, it does not work well in certain directions. So I'm looking forward to have some different solutions. So.
Well, we can chat about it. I can share some things with you. I think you'd appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks so much.
All right. Well, the last presenter we have is Chris Huber, N6 ICW. Are you here? I didn't see your image. Okay. Well, Carol, we could do yours, KP4MD. I didn't have you on the list, but if you were ready to go, we could finish off with you.
Actually, it's already 9:30. It's been a pretty long meeting.
All right.
And since I do have a presentation next month, I think I'll just start off with a little show of my shack at the presentation next month. I'm going to talk about the Kiwi SDR. I did want to also just clarify, I sent out the, in the newsletter, if you read the newsletter, I did a little preview of the Kiwi SDR software-defined radio. And I mentioned that it was available for anyone to listen on the web. Actually, right now it's off the web because I had a little bit of an adventure this past weekend. I found that apparently a Chinese government site was logged into it, and they were using it to monitor United States Air Force military communications. So I've taken it off for the time being until I could find a way to prevent this from happening again. That's I certainly don't want to have my equipment used by the Chinese to monitor our military. So that's the reason.
How did you find out that was happening?
It's yeah, it's a long story. It had to do with the IP address that was logged in, and I found out the frequency they were listening to was an Air Force frequency of our military. So I can actually share that maybe a little bit longer tomorrow during our net or something, or I'll send a message out.
I apologize to butt in. I missed this last part. My phone cut out for a second. What were they doing again? Just real quick.
Oh, hi, Alex. Alex, by the way, is a new visitor.
Sure.
Yeah, hi. Welcome. I found out that my software-defined radio was acting kind of strange, and I went into the connection to the internet, and I found that I was getting a lot of connect requests from this particular IP address. When I looked up the IP address, it turned out to be from China. And I also found the frequency that they were tuning was a military frequency for the United States Air Force. So there's a little bit of espionage going on there. And if I have a public SDR without having a password, anybody's available to use the receiver for any purpose they want whatsoever. So I am going to see if I put it back on with a password for the club members to get an opportunity to try it. But right now, I have it offline for the time.
Wow, that's crazy. And that was ham radio, right?
No, it's a general coverage HF receiver that covers from 0 to 30 megahertz, and you can go on the internet on a particular website and you can use it. You can tune anywhere you want to listen in. But of course, it could, it could be, if you use it on military frequencies and you're from a foreign government, that's that's questionable, especially if it's a hostile party that's doing that. I disagree with using my equipment for that.
Oh, thank you for the recap. Appreciate it.
So basically, it was a public SDR through a
Yes.
website. Yes. Okay.
It's great detective work on your part, Carol.
Well, Carol, how did they discover that you had an SDR online, or did you advertise it in some way?
Well, the SDR, of course I announced it on Facebook, you know, through the club Facebook page, and also it was published on the kiwisdr.com list. There's a list there of several hundred public SDRs. These are software-defined radios that individuals have decided to offer for public use. And they must have found that where I'm located particularly, they were quite interested in using my receiver. I suppose perhaps because of our proximity to Beale Air Force Base or Travis Air Force Base. I can't say for sure why, but yeah, it was that's the way that we figured it out. But I did all of the detective work, and I actually have a little write-up on it, and I can give I can send out a link there to when I put out the announcement for the net for tomorrow's net. I'll go ahead and I'll share that if anybody's interested in reading about it.
All right, well, we got through 8 presentations, and there'll be some editing to lose a chickmunk or 2 in there. And I am recording the stuff onto my laptop. Kevin, I don't know, I don't have the editing software you do, so we'll have to combine and see how we can share that and get it cleaned up a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Let me know if you need any help to edit it or whatever.
And if I missed anything, what I saw, most of it I did see fine. I have a wireless in my house that doesn't always work well in our kitchen table, which is where I am, and I'm sorry, a dining room. And by using a Wi-Fi that Sylvia is actually using, it actually works better for me. We're kind of halfway in between 2 Wi-Fis that don't quite cover the house, so I think I wasn't too garbled for me. So hopefully that's fine.
Before we end, I would like to mention, Tom, thank you very much for taking the effort to coordinate all this. I think it was very successful from my perspective. I learned a lot. It was quite interesting to see the variety of ingenuity that we see in the group. And I think it was very, very successful. I think maybe in a few months or maybe once a year, we can do that and get a new batch of people to do that. So thank you very much.
I think that everybody presenting probably will inspire others that would do the same thing.
I think there could be an interesting video to share as well when we get it uploaded to the club YouTube site. I think this would be an interesting one.
We're liable to get an awful lot of hits on the YouTube version of this.
Yeah.
My personal video on the antenna, on the tower, and etc. I can put it. I can put it up there and I'll put it somewhere. I don't know how to put the video online yet. So.
Well, we have a video recording of this whole meeting, so everyone's slides that were shared and their video presentations and everything, it will all be included in that video.
The sound levels aren't all that great, so we'll have to adjust here and there for some of the videos, I think. We'll see what happens.
Very much, guys.
All right, folks, I'm going to leave. Thank you all very much.
All right. Thanks, everyone. All right.
Thanks to everybody that presented. Thank you.
Yeah, before you guys leave, I wanted to ask someone for an Elmer, by the way, just throwing it out there.
So that's Alex?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Jojo had posted in the chat that he would be getting in contact with you, Alex. That's KN6HTD. So you should have an email there with his contact information.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was actually at work. I wasn't paying attention to any of the chats. Good to know. So I guess he posted his info there, or?
Yeah, it's there.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Thank you for the heads up. Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
When the installation of the drone, I assume, antenna was going up, did he have consideration on using U.S. towers or a tubular antenna instead of the Roan setup?
Or Neil, are you still here? Oh, you lost the person that has that tower.
Oh, shoot.
I can answer for him if you don't mind.
Yeah.
He had the tower and received it secondhand, and so the price was negligible. So he was able to do some modifying, and the Tashian Towers provided the brand new base for it, and he was able to put the used tower on it.
Oh, okay. Okay, because my dad's was a tubular U.S. Towers, and I guess they sold it, and now we don't have it. Well, they don't have it. But I was just wondering if there's a preference for one or the other.
Well, I think cheap beats any other kind of antenna.
Yep, you're right. Okay, thank you.
All right, Kevin, I still have control. I can give it back to you. I think, though, that I have all the video recorded here.
Okay. And I think when we exit, you'll get a box pop up and it will say like rendering video or something. If you leave it run for a while, eventually it will end up and you'll get like a .mp4 file.
Yeah, I've seen that before. Okay. Well, and editing will be required. All right, I'm going to end here. So on 1, 2, 3, I'll push the end and then something else will, and then end meeting. So thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone. All right. Thanks, Tom, for hosting tonight.
Bye.